we all know how important the lower leg is, you know, the heavy lower leg for riding. And I think Max said it, I grew up in that same, you know, posted without stirrups, you know, you get that strength in the leg more or less, and that pivot position. And I heard Cindy say something about heels out to help her students to keep the lower leg off. Something that was shared with me that I think is huge is sole your foot out. Maybe, and again, maybe some of you are already doing this, but if you just experiment with this once, if you basically stand up with your soles of your feet out, you feel how heavy you can get in your leg. And if you sit down and squeeze with your knees, what happens with the weight in your stirrups? You know, you basically lose them all day. So if that focus is just like when you're standing with your sole of your foot out, so I don't know how we correctly say that in the manual, because toe out is not necessarily, a little toe out's fine. Heel out, I think we should probably talk about more, but
I think I tell them to put the foot.
okay.
Yeah, Reggie always said what the outside
outside aspect of the foot is what.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's our term, great. But basically a little clearer, that's a fancy term, and maybe it works. But sole your foot out, you know, because you can show someone, you know, just turning your sole out, that puts your knee on the horse, right?
Yeah, right.
Everybody feels that. So when you set down, we're trying to come up with that term of that, basically that 2-point or the polo 2-point or whatever we're going to call it, is you're not really sitting all the way down on the saddle. You know, you're basically, when we're riding the field and running, you're in your leg. You know, so you have that feel of your soles are out, so you're basically, your knees are on the saddle. You turn your sole out, your knee comes right in. But if you just try to squeeze with your knee, your weight comes immediately out of your lower leg. So I think that's something that even in basic equitation, a lot of people teach. It's good to be able to ride without stirrups, the balance as we know. But the stronger lower leg is what riding is all about. So I think we really need to teach, not as much emphasis on the lateral, you know, pressure with the knees, more emphasis on the downward pressure in the heel and then turning the sole out. And Reggie's term is what?
Outside aspect of the foot.
Outside aspect of the foot.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I know, but soles out, whatever works for you, because we're all teaching everybody. This for me was huge in helping Tolo from Argentina.
Yeah.
He did something. I'll take this one step further because it's basically the same thing. Chris, he came up to the student and he basically, you know, you have to always be careful if you're working with adults. You know, make sure it's not, you know, somebody who's got a bad ankle or whatever. But he literally makes them feel it. You know, he pulls down on the heel, turns the sole out to where they can feel that muscle. So I think the visual demonstration plus the actual, you know, holding on their leg to get that feel is huge. Anyway,
the one thing that works really well for me too is I tell for heels down, is I tell people to take their big toe and touch the top of their boot with it, and that seems to help them get like their toe up and their heel down.
I say toe up.
Yeah, but I say take
your big toe and touch the top of your
boot
Yeah.
and just
Then
leave
it
it there.
flexes your foot.
Flexes your foot.
Everybody heard that, huh? That was pretty good.
Well, what I do is, if you put your hand on the front of your shin, you relax your foot,
Yeah,
and then you
tighten it
your
up.
muscles in the front of your shin, people don't even realize they have, and if they engage them, they'll feel them tighten, and the toe pulls up.
Yeah.
So
I tell them you should
people
feel it.
realizing they have a muscle that
Yeah.
can pull the toe up.
Yeah, I said
That's
hold that toe and
also
you'll
good.
feel it there, but it's kind of the same stuff.
I was just looking at when you were emphasizing that of having it sole out, it also kind of rotates the knee because one of the things is they're gripping with your knee and then you're asking them to turn and actually turn their hips.
Right.
And they're thinking about gripping with the knee here, and you've got, if they've already got it out, then they sort of can rotate, they rotate their knees a lot easier.
Love the knee in.
Well,
You know what I mean? If you can turn your hips.
the only thing, when I heard you say that, the only thing I was like, because it's kind of quirking it a little bit, you know, so, you know, the more for the physical position of the body,
Right.
the leg, the toe out a little bit is a little bit more relaxed for the leg. This is almost a torquing kind of.
Right. No, what I'm not saying what I like is what you said, is because it does
Oh,
kind of
okay.
put their knee in a position to rotate their hips,
yeah.
more so than if they're just
And,
doing this.
and while we're here, let's talk about, because it's all us. You know, Reggie says something, and probably I would, you know, be wonderful if we could have him, if we could both come to the same place on this. But Reggie teaches that keeping that knee locked in for the coil. Has everybody heard that?
Yeah.
So where you're kind of like a coil coming back and then snapping
I
free.
don't know if you can really do that.
Okay.
I can't.
What do golfers do? Golfers aren't here at all. Golfers are here, and they get plenty of torque in their swing.
Right.
So I think we have to be careful when we hear that. A lot of people, that's going to be a very difficult move, in my opinion, to keep your
Especially
toes
beginners.
straight ahead and bring an offside, bring your arm back. When you watch all the pictures and the great players in the world, their toe is not only back, but down most of the time. So do we all agree with that, or is it
You know,
it's a good place to figure?
And you're right. Like I used to teach it because I used to work a lot with Reg. I used to teach it that way.
Uh-huh.
And farther along down, like especially you can do the toe forward with a 16-year-old kid,
Uh-huh.
but a 50-year-old guy isn't ever gonna do that.
Yeah.
So the one thing I kind of do is either
But
toe
here, let me stop you for a second, because everyone's here. With a 15-year-old kid, do you guys agree with that or no?
Well,
I-
I mean, I agree that they're physically able to do it.
Physically
They have
able to
more
do it, but
flexibility in their body.
would you
I,
teach it?
I would teach the young kids to have their toe out because when I was a boy, my dad told me to just lean forward. People hit the ball here, but now players turn more.
Yeah.
And they're more square and they hit the ball later. Don't you think, John?
Yeah. No, I
And so now you have to
Yeah.
turn your toe, or you can't turn your hips.
Well, actually, I don't teach toe out.
But
I teach
We,
turn the
yeah, we
hips.
don't necessarily
Turn the
say
hips.
toe,
Turn
we
the
don't
hips.
say toe out, but it
But
just
I
toe
say
out
turn the
happens.
hips,
Yeah.
and if you're, what I say to them is like, okay, if you're standing on the ground and you go to turn your hips and your feet don't move, that's as far as you can get your hips. If you let your feet move, then your hips can go further.
Okay.
That's how I think of it.
See,
and
like
that's
for me,
that's the same thing.
just me personally playing, if I'm taking like an approach shot, both my feet are forward. But when I go to hit, then I open my hips. But I would say if you're gonna pick one, definitely have it open. The one thing I don't want, and which I see a lot of with students, is in between because here you have grip from knee to groin, here you have kind of lower leg and support, here you don't really have either one. Like in the middle, is like you don't really have either advantage, right? Like you kind of have the least amount of contact right in between. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I say that
But
either open
but
or
as you're
close.
transferring your leg, just what you said first, I like what you said first before what you led into. What you said first is you have your grip with your leg, and then as you open it, it transfers to your calf and your thigh,
Right.
back of your thigh.
Right.
And that's probably the two most important things. It's the grip of the middle of the leg as you're moving around on a horse with speed.
The other thing I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, we, with Team USPA, and we're doing a ton of training with them, with Adam and Owen and all those guys, we're immediately teaching those guys to own the inside of the field. When I teach a real beginner, I teach them just because you got to start them with somewhere to always be on the mallet side. At what point do you go ahead and get them to get that concept of owning the inside of the field?
When they start playing tournaments.
yeah.
So you don't think like this, you should start introducing it?
That's just my opinion.
I'm
I
just
think I like
curious.
your theory. In the beginning, it's good to say get on the mallet side because it's so plain and simple. But then when they start playing tournaments and leagues,
I mean, I have a differing opinion, because maybe with older people or novices to simplify it, but I think with younger people, if you're introducing them to polo at a young age, I think you can throw that in right at the beginning.
I think I made a mistake in my younger years teaching,
Jess
I-
and those kids.
yeah, I never taught them to own the inside of the field. And why didn't I? I mean, I should have. But you get them all stuck to each other doing the
I
outside.
say start it in the middle because like one of the things that I see a lot of instructors do is they teach people how to hit the ball sitting on their butt. And then they teach them how to do it standing up, and I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
Like, they're not going to learn it the second way. Like, teach them the right time, unless they can't physically stand, they have a physical impediment. Then
Here's a thought about the middle though, is I think giving them the information early, maybe there's our middle ground. Giving them the information early, as far as the little strategy session after coaching chunkers, we usually sit with the board maybe for a few minutes. Giving them the information, but I think I agree with John that it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit advanced for someone just starting off.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean,
well-
if I feel like one thing a lot of instructors do wrong is they overteach.
Sure.
I mean, polo's a simple sport. You have to keep it simple, and then they tell them 10 different things, and man, they
It's
can't
too
remember
much.
the first thing. If you
Too
give them
much.
2 things to remember or 3 things, they can work on something. But when you throw 10 things at them, and now you're trying to tell
And
them
then,
to take the inside of the field.
Tom, for me, I tell the guy to take inside of the field who's a weak player. He takes his offside away, and I expect him to do a near side. That's
Well, you guys are
difficult.
telling me the inside of the field. You're still confusing me, and I've been playing for 30 years. I'm like, well, what play are you talking about at the inside of the
Right.
field? Are we talking about knock-ins? Are we talking about throw-ins?
It's just
Are we
like
talking about just
John,
the game in general?
We
I mean, there's-
started, John. We started this when we were walking around watching.
Yeah.
Stick side was being said. I think Megan was saying stick side a lot, which we all obviously know.
Yeah.
But that's another advanced stick side. Is stick side in higher goal polo is near side or offside, based on how the play is developing, right? So whereas stick side in maybe a lower goal or a sponsor situation,
Offside.
is offside.
Yeah.
So just like backhand is. So I agree. There's a lot of these things that are they're different levels. They're different levels. They're
And even
here,
most-
here, as far as what they're.
Most of the kids coming to our club, and I think all around the U.S., they're just kids wanting to come out and have fun. They're not trying to become pros or become the next 10-goal player. So
No, but John, what she's saying, which I think we have to be careful. There's a middle ground here. Is give
Yeah.
them because kids, especially when you say kids,
Yep.
give them good information in the beginning.
yes,
You'd be surprised because they're the ones that can soak it up.
Well, if you think about it, you reverse it and take it to arena pole, how soon do we tell kids own the board?
Yeah.
day one.
yeah, that's
So,
pretty
I mean,
soon,
it's
sure.
that concept.
That's a little easier to
That is
understand.
a
That's
really
way
difficult
easier to understand.
physical thing. That's
Do you
true.
still want us to start with mallet side? Or do you want us to just start with having them come?
That's another great
I'm
conversation
telling you,
for us.
just from my past 4 years
And
of
that's how I do it, too.
every one of those guys is killing my kids because they're, so here's the boards and they're teaching them right now to go here and put me in no man's land.
Right.
But if they go, if we're going down the field and go here and the boards are here, and I can get away from them. I have a lot of different, I have
Yeah.
multiple
Right. Right.
so why even?
But Chris,
the thing is, if you're teaching a beginner to go on stick side, the only thing they have is a hook, is they don't really understand when they can go for a ride off on the mallet side. So maybe you do it right
It
away.
sounds to me that we should introduce the concept right away of owning the inside. But as you're coaching, at the beginning, you're really just trying to let them see the line of the ball and see where their teammates are. I mean, that's not going to come into play so much, yes, when on the knock-in. But the rest of the time,
These
you're
guys-
really just trying to
These
get them
guys
to
are trying
follow
to
a
teach.
flow.
Adam and Owen are they're trying to teach these guys where they're trying to move to higher goal pole.
Right.
yeah. And Tom,
But I mean, don't you guys want to
When
aspire
I say
to
high
have,
goal polo,
you know,
I'm sorry.
young players
Ta-
that are going to really do well? I mean, isn't that important? Because I'm always going to continue to teach that way with young people, and try to get, because for me, when I figured that out, I got to play high goal polo, and I never hit the ball, but I understood it, and I did that. I took people to the boards all the time, and it worked, and it
I
was a
didn't learn
success.
it until Max taught me when I played with him
Hey,
in
Chris.
April.
And I just,
Suggestion to these, why don't we get the pictures
Yeah.
and get these horses
Yeah.
taken away because they're about to have it, and then we can continue the discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to that.
See if she wants a photo and then get these horses off the field. This is about done.
Tell us done.
Yeah. What are we doing? I play polo.
so do we have to send the horses or no?
I think Elizabeth wants a photo over by the bar.
Okay, let's do it.
Get that done, and then let's.
Can we just do it without horses?
This conversation has a lot of.
Do you want us on them?
Cindy, can we get off, or do they want us on horses?
In charge. Ask the
Mounted or unmounted, Elizabeth?
Oh Lord.